So, good evening, everybody. I believe we are live. I hope you can all hear me. Um, so, it's really good to see you all again. Firstly, I'd like to say thank you to Ronan for his generous donation. It's really kind of you, Ronan. So, good evening, Count Beauty. Yep, if you're here, I know I started at the right moment exactly. Let's see, if you remember last time we were looking at this thing about the moringa tree and moringa leaves and how these were good for you and good for health. So hi ED, good evening David Lutz and Yo-Yo Leffy and Slipknot, good evening, and hi there Luke as well. So it's great to have you all here. We are good evening Manisco as well. Okay, so wonderful to have you. I hope you're all well and I hope you're all raring to go. So, yep, it's time for me to start, I believe. So let me put this in place and we'll get the first one straight away. I'm not sure about this difference, Luke, because to me a breakdown is when you separate things into different things. So, good evening Razgar, great to have you as well. So, let's rock and roll. Traditionally, most Balinese family compounds were protected with a moringa tree. Over the course of recent decades, it came to be considered as barely, exactly, completely, merely peasant food, and as part of old mystical superstitions. I've been very well, thank you for fear, good to have you. So, let me read it again. Traditionally, most Balinese family compounds were protected with a moringa tree. Over the course of recent decades, it came to be considered as barely, exactly, completely, merely peasant food, and as part of old mystical superstitions. So, let's see. Good evening, Kadir. So, we've already got some answers. We've got completely for Count, we've got merely for Vitali, we've got barely for David, we've got merely for Leffy, we've got merely for Patricia. Good evening, Manji. Great to see you, and it's great to see you as well, Lukash. And thank you very much, merely for Ronan as well. So, now I see you're there. Thank you for the donation, Ronan. And Slipknot fan goes for merely, and so does Razgar. Okay, so let's see. Okay, Oksana, great to have you. I hope you're well. Good evening, Roland. Good evening, Oksana. So Oksana goes for merely, and Laurie goes for merely as well, and Manji goes for merely. Shalom Renyard, great to have you with us. Okay, and Roland goes for merely as well. Okay, so let's see. Barely. I had barely enough. Yeah, barely peasant food. No, I barely arrived on time. I had barely enough money. Exactly, it's the only thing it's good for. Completely peasant food. I guess completely might work, but the best one here is definitely merely. Merely gives the idea, M-E-R-E-L-Y, gives the idea of only, nothing more than. Yeah, and merely nothing more than, and that's better. Whereas completely says totally. Yeah. As totally peasant food, as merely peasant food. So, that was a very good start by all of you. Let's try the next one. Ah, yes. Next one's easy. Okay, so, yeah, it's merely, nothing more than. He's merely a sergeant in the army. He's not a general or anything like that. Yeah? So, no need to get upset. It was merely a comment. Merely. Here by default. So, VG's still alive. I've seen him commenting, Leffy. So, however, during the COVID-19 pandemic, as the workforce of Bali's crash tourism industry returned to live with, live off, live in, live at, live of the land, people once again began to latch onto the benefits of the marvellous tree that grows like a weed. So we've got answers already. This is very good. Notice to latch onto, to recognize, understand and begin to use. So we've got live off the land for Count Beauty, for Vitali, for Laurie. Might ought to be correct. Then it gives off the impression of only ordinary. Yes, that's the idea for learn. Live off for Patricia, for Manji, for Oksana, for Roland, for Leffy. Okay, you've learned many English words from me. That's great. So to live with, no. You live with somebody. You spend your time living with them. And off for Ronan as well. Live in the land. Well, I guess you might live in the land. Live at the land. No, live of the land. To live off, to use something as your source of food. Yes, to live off, as Rizgar said as well. So he lives off his salary. So Banty goes for off as well. Yeah, you live off the land. You live off your salary. He seems to live off chicken sandwiches and beer. Okay, so very definitely live off, definitely the answer. And let's put the next one up. Okay, man cannot live, it says by bread alone. A man cannot live off bread alone. You could use an off there as well. Okay, so to live off something, it's the thing that provides everything you need. Okay, that's brilliant. Yeah, you live off your parents. Well, it's a landslide for off. To latch off can be used without a preposition. No, to latch onto, to connect with. Yes, feed off, definitely. So, having heard about moringa's nutritional benefits, my wife and I started eating it on a daily basis during the pandemic. It grows freely in the West Balinese village where we live, and we quickly realized that it was incredibly variable, convertible, talented, versatile, fickle as a cooking ingredient. So, okay. So we've got versatile for Leffy, for Vitali, for Count, for Suman, good evening Suman, for Valentine, for Manji, good evening SH, versatile for you as well. Okay, so having heard about moringa's nutritional benefits, my wife and I started eating it on a daily basis during the pandemic. It grows freely in the West Balinese village where we lived, and we quickly realized that it was incredibly variable, convertible, talented, versatile, fickle as a cooking ingredient. So let's see. Versatile for Falern, for Laurie, for Oksana, for Amin. Good evening Amin, great to have you. Versatile for Reynard, for Ronan and for Roland. Versatile as a cooking ingredient, says Rizgar. So does Patricia says versatile. Yeah, I think flexible's a good synonym. So good evening Suman. Very definitely flexible. So let's look at these words. Fickle. If something is fickle, you can't trust it. It's always changing from one thing to another. And Banty goes for versatile as well. Are on a day-to-day basis and daily basis. On a day-to-day basis, or daily basis, the same. Yes. The weather. Notice, normally, Oksana, we don't say a weather. Weather can be fickle, very definitely. Something that's variable, again, is something that changes. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. The weather can be variable. A fickle-minded fellow, I love it. Convertible, well, who was it? Yeah, a convertible car, as Roland said, or maybe a convertible bond. But if something's convertible, you can change it from one thing into another. And hello, Arun, as well. And talented means they're very good at it. Very definitely versatile is definitely the answer. Fickle, capricious mind. Variable, changeable. Convertible, change from one thing to another. Talented, skilled. Fickle, untrustworthy and changeable. Okay, so that we've had a really good start. You're all doing really, really well. I love it. Okay. Fickle, changing quickly. You can't trust it to be one thing or another. Okay, so here comes the next one. Eaten alone, moringa leaves are reminiscent of peppery spinach, but Balinese cooks typically add a variety of freshly battered, pounded, beaten, hammered local herbs and spices to the simmering vegetables to serve as a leafy stew. So, is it correct to say a clement weather? Without the A, Renyard, clement weather. Normally we don't say a. I've noticed many languages want to put an indefinite article with weather. No, the weather today is very good. This area of the world has very good weather, not a weather. So, a weather. It's almost always a mistake. The specific weather in a specific place. So, this one I thought was going to be harder, but we'll see. So, Count Beauty goes for battered, Vitali for pounded, Falern goes for pounded, SH for pounded, Suman for pounded as well, and Leffy says poor herbs. Good evening, Arun from India. Great to have you. Okay, so to simmer means to boil very gently, to boil something slowly. Yeah? Okay, so eaten alone, moringa leaves are reminiscent of peppery spinach, but Balinese cooks typically add a variety of freshly battered, pounded, beaten, hammered local herbs and spices to the simmering vegetables to serve as a leafy stew. Okay, thank you. Rain is a weather condition. But notice, Leffy, that's a condition rather than a weather. Okay, so pounded for Manji and Roland. Ronan goes for battered. Patricia goes for pounded. Anna goes for pounded. Rizgar says pound, punch, smash, strike heavily. Inventions and contrivance. A contrivance is rather strange and rather unusual. An invention is more neutral. If you say a contrivance, you think it might not work very well. It's not necessarily very suitable. And I think maybe a contrivance is more temporary. So Roland says pound, hit something hard several times. To pound. Okay, you pound herbs with a pestle and mortar. Shelter for a battered woman. If something is battered, it's hit repeatedly. But normally to batter, battery, is attacking. You're perfectly correct, Renyard. In for a penny, in for a pound. So to pound is you pound something. You bang it again and again. Yeah, if something's battered, it's beaten or battered, you hit it again and again. The coast was battered by the storm. Yes, this is very good. Good evening, 6 to 9. And Malak says pounded. Absolutely, Malak. Battered women, abused women. Yes, because they've been battered. Okay, hammered normally means a very good victory. My team hammered the opposition. And beaten. Well, beaten, you beat eggs, but that's going round and round and round and round and round. And the herbs aren't beaten. Is batter used to produce butter? No, you don't have to put butter in batter, but you can. Okay, your heart is pounding. Dum, 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 dum. That's a good one. I like that very much. So, very definitely, pounded. So let's see, to pound something, you are grinding it up in a pestle and mortar. Get hammered down the pub, get very drunk, hammered as well. But to batter, it is more normally to attack viciously, trying to hurt something. So thank you, Raphael. Okay, so to pound, you are grinding it into a thing, whereas to batter is aggression. Thank you, Aaron. They had to postpone the game until next week. You could say the next week as well, for learn. Until the next week, or next week, both of them. To whisk eggs or to beat eggs, very definitely. So, we dropped crude, raw, rough, callow, unfledged leaves into smoothies, cooked them in omelettes, soups, stews and curries, and chopped them to create delicious peppery seasoning for egg mayonnaise sandwiches and salad. Yeah, your heart is pumping, but it's also pounding. Pounding is stronger than pumping. So count goes for raw, so does Vitali. Good evening, Amin. Great to have you, Malak. Suman for raw, so for Oksana, so for Laurie. So for raw for Valentine as well, and Rizgar. Your heart's beating more, it doesn't say the pace, hammering going very, very fast and pounding going very fast. Raphael, raw, and raw for Manji. And to pump blood to the brain, yeah, but if your heart's hammering or pounding, it's going much, much more strongly. So we've got two really good words here. Emin goes for raw. What is callow and what is unfledged? Okay, so callow and unfledged. Raw leaves, raw, uncooked. If something's crude, it's not very refined. Yeah. He made a crude type of chair, crude oil. Yeah, I guess it's unrefined, but raw refers to ingredients. Good one, Count Beauty. A callow youth. Callow means green and inexperienced. Yeah. Unfledged, antonym of fully fledged. Okay, yes, what is to fledge though? So callow talks about a young person who's inexperienced, particularly a callow youth. Yeah, crude oil, very definitely. Okay. Why don't they just say fresh? But they don't have to be fresh, because raw says uncooked, whereas fresh says they're recently picked. So you can eat frozen fish raw. Okay, and that's why. So, callow, immature, definitely. Unfledged, thank you, Rizgar. Unfledged, lacking experience, immature, of a bird, not having fully developed feathers for flight. So if somebody's unfledged, they haven't, well, a fledgling is a bird before it leaves the nest. When it leaves the nest, the baby, it becomes fledged. Fully fledged, mature. Callow is naive, newbie, a neophyte. Crude would be more natural. Crude leaves. But let's see, a crude leaf is a type of leaf that is not very well formed. Yeah? If something's crude, it's not well made, it's not very well put together. Yeah? Whereas raw says not cooked, not prepared. Yeah? Let's see, a steam engine is a crude type of engine, not very sophisticated. Not refined, not well refined, but raw means uncooked. Okay, so callow, inexperienced. Raw for Ronan. Suman, says naive, newbie, neophyte. Unfledged, young, good. Unfledged, inexperience. Callow, innocent, immature. Yeah. Crude oil from Aaron. Crude oil from Suman. Crude oil from Roland. Callow is innocent. He's young and inexperienced. Okay, so good evening, Rimsha. Raw fruit. Yeah. Okay, raw material. I love it. As it comes from the ground. So, raw materials, rough rock. The answer here is raw leaves. Is something raw here, particularly for uncooked. We use raw saying something that's not cooked, has not been prepared for by cooking. It's going to be raw. Yeah. If something is crude, it's very primitive. Yeah. It's not very well developed. Okay, that was actually got more discussion than I thought, so it was a good word. Okay, a smoothie. This is you put it in the blender so you can drink it. Normally you put milk to make a banana smoothie. You put milk and bananas in the blender and you go, and then you drink it and it's smooth. Good evening, TW. Yeah, a smoothie, it's like a milkshake. Au naturel. I love it. I love it, Vitali. Thank you. So, I planted 2 6-foot cuttings, and within a year and a half they were taller than our 2 level layer tier story. The word that goes here. I've got that in the wrong place. House. Much of our fence line became a living, edible fence of moringa. Yes. Smoothie, the same as a milkshake. Yeah, more or less. I don't think you have to put milk in it, but you have to. You could put other things in it as well, but it's to drink. So we've got story. You could say raw alcohol. I guess you could use the phrase raw alcohol. Count Beauty says story house. Laurie says story. Story house for Falern. Story for Suman, for Oksana. For Vitali, for Renyard, for Manji, for TW, for Julia. Good evening, Julia Richmond. Great to have you. Okay, so a house has 2 stories or 10 stories. Yep. Is the number of levels. But notice, if you're in a lift, you go to the 2nd floor. Our 2-floor house, that would work as well. But I think story, 2 stories. Yeah? Story for Patricia as well. Okay, so they were taller than their 2-story house. Okay, 2-level. I guess 2-level works, but 2 stories. This is talking about houses. Yeah, I think 2 levels could be for anything. 2 layers, an outer layer or an inner layer, as Arun put it. 2-level house. I guess level would work, but we use this word story for houses. I was on the 2nd story of the house. So story for Banti, for Anna, for Roland, for Arun. Yes, it's the same as floors, Raphael, 2-story. Is the cutting of a plant the same as the parent plant? A cutting is when you take part of the plant, you cut it off and you plant it in the ground. And that's a cutting. And that cutting makes roots. Some things are easy to propagate from cuttings, other things aren't. Yeah, you cut a piece off the parent and you put it in the ground. 2 stories, 2 floors. But notice here, a 2-story house. Here 2-story is acting as a modifying noun, and we don't put the S. A 10-minute lesson, not a 10 minutes lesson. A 5-mile walk. Our 2-level house. I wouldn't use 2-level house. I'd say 2-floor house or 2-story house. Tiers are different levels. You have tiers of service or pay grades. Tiers for a cake, exactly, Patricia. Make a decision. Make a decision. But it is the same age. Yes, it's the same age, and it has exactly the same genetics. Yeah? Okay, so a 2-story house for Roland. Yeah, acting like an adjective. 2-storied as well, thank you. Yes, that would work, because storied becomes an adjective. A ready-to-move-in house. Good evening, Diego. Okay, so let's put it on the other one. So the different stories of the house, I would say the different floors of the house. I could guess you could say levels, but a 2-tier cake, a 2-tier AC coach. Know of, yeah? And story for Emin as well. Okay, despite the fact that the plant is freely available almost anywhere on the island, you'd rarely, if ever, see it as an ingredient in warungs, local eateries, let alone on a tourist menu. However, a few chefs, perhaps tempted by a nutritious and flavourful ingredient that's freely available, are refreshing, reviving, raising, rehabilitating the tradition. So, story for Emin. Yes, that's it. A 3-year-old. That's the idea for learn. And Ayad goes for story as well. So let's see. Vitali says reviving. Count Beauty says refreshing. For learn for reviving. Raphael for reviving. Oksana for reviving. Ayed for reviving. Yeah, English words have many layers of meaning. And Suman for reviving, Valentine for reviving, same for Roland, for Banti, for TW, for Manji, to revive, to give birth to again. Reviving, rejuvenating. Rejuvenating means to make young again. Yeah, it's not quite the same as reviving. Laurie goes reviving, and so does Roland and Julia Richmond and Renyard and Patricia. You could say tradition says. The tradition says. Tradition could be a mass noun, or the tradition, the specific one of that island. So, Emin goes for reviving, and Rizgar says reviving and refreshing. The restoring says for learn. Yes, restoring would work. Okay, so if something's refreshing, it's a refreshing drink. It calms you down. It cools you down because it's a hot day. Revivation. Yes, that would work. I'm thinking of a revenant. Okay, to raising, to raise, to lift up. To rehabilitate. To me, you rehabilitate an alcoholic. Alcoholics Anonymous are rehabilitated. I guess you could also rehabilitate a machine or a building to make it like new again so that it works properly. But to revive, definitely. Revive. To bring back from the dead, or to bring back from the unconscious. Yeah, revival is definitely the word. Reviving, to give birth to in a new shape. In pub game, the term used revive. Réhabiliter à personne. Okay, resuscitating. Yes, I think maybe to resuscitate, it's more dead. To revive, my plant has drooped and I gave it water to revive it, to bring it back to life. I think resuscitate is from the dead. Revivation is not a thing. Maybe not. I'm not. So, to restore. To restore means to repair. Revival album by Eminem, reviving our past, bringing it back. Okay, so let's go to the next one then, which is coming, I hope very soon. So yes, definitely to revive, to bring it back to life, to animate it. Moringa features on the ever-changing menu at Rasta Cafe, Medway, in the West Coast surf town of Medway. I try to cook whatever local produce is in season, period, time, era. And moringa is almost indispensable in that it's available all year round, says Nafisha Dewi, the cafe's chef, as she prepared soup made with moringa leaves, pumpkin, aromatic ginger, garlic, shallots, candlenut, chili, coriander, lemongrass and coconut. Sounds delicious. So, let's see. You'll have to make your own PDF, Banty. A recording comes out. Bracing the tradition. Okay, I guess so. Bracing the tradition, making it strong again. Revive our love story to bring it back. And Vitali says season. The tourist industry is reviving after COVID. Rehab the Sing by Amy White. Okay. Yes, definitely. And Oksana says season, so does Count Beauty, so does Julia R. A Prisonnier for P. Season for Suman, for Raphael, for Valentine, for Rizgar. Produce, used as a noun, in or out of season. Yes, produce is fresh vegetables, fresh meat, fresh products to eat. So Roland says season, so does Anna, so does Laurie, so does Ronan. In season, sounds delicious. Season for Patricia. To revive, to return to the original form. Okay, period. Says Emine. The majority of people say season, definitely. Manji says season. In the Middle Ages there was a superstition according to which bathing in the blood of innocent girls could rejuvenate elderly people. Wow, that's pretty heavy. So, very definitely indispensable in that. Sounds a bit, it's indispensable in that. Yeah. I would say because would be a better word, Oksana. I quite agree with you. I quite like that. Yeah, it's indispensable in that. They're explaining it. A seasoned pro, but in season. So oranges are out of season at the moment. Yeah. Pumpkin, because just an uncountable amount of pumpkin. Not a whole pumpkin, just some pumpkin, not a whole one. Okay, yeah. Yes, global controllers are still obsessed with young blood. So when something's in season, it's when it's on the trees. Yeah, in period. No, in time, before the time period runs out, and in era. Well, an era is a long period of time. Thick and fast. So, the produce section in every grocery. A seasoned cook seasoned the steak in spring season. That sounds better. In that, because, very definitely. So, shallots, they're a type of onion, super. Yeah, they're a small onion that are really quite tasty. Right, so here we go again. Epoch. In epoch, I think epoch might work. Yeah. Okay, so while barley is commonly, centrally, regularly, predominantly Hindu, this western side of the island also has a large Muslim population. Dewey, the person was Hindu until she married her husband Rasta and entered the Muslim faith, but both recall moringa being a favourite family dish during their childhoods. So, predominantly for Valentine. Candlenut, I don't know. You'll have to look it up, super. Oksana goes for predominantly, Count Beauty for predominantly, and for Leffy and Raphael. Razgar says commonly. Okay, predominantly for Vitali, predominantly for Suman and Patricia. Yeah, a mix between onion and garlic. Yeah, that's good. An epoch is an era, a period of time. In the Victorian epoch. Yeah, in the epoch of the cavemen, Leffy. Predominantly for Julia, for Manji, for Ronan, for Laurie, and for Roland. An epoch, an era. There we go. Yeah, that's very kind of you, Super. So predominantly for Renyard as well. Yes, but predominantly. So the majority of people in Bali are Hindu. Bali is commonly Hindu. We'd need to say, while the people in Bali are commonly Hindu, yeah, well, Bali is predominantly, the majority part is Hindu. Centrally, no, regularly. Okay, predominantly. The major part. Yeah, if you look at the average, predominantly, most people. So if you look at religion in the UK, people are predominantly Church of England. Yeah. Yeah, epoch, I give it a 6.5. In summer, it's predominantly sunny. In winter, it's predominantly cold. It's mostly, yeah, mostly would definitely work as well, Oksana. Predominantly, primarily. I like that. Yeah, Malak says predominantly as well. No, not commonly, predominantly. The major part of it is. Okay, so let's put the next one up. Ooh, yes, I like the next one. For the most part. Embraced Islam. Okay. Let's see, predominantly. I'm trying to think. Yes, my videos predominantly are videos about vocabulary and how to use vocabulary. Yeah. My channel is predominantly watched by people who have a very good level of English, nearly all C1. So let's try this next one. We used it not only as food but also often as medicine. Dewey explained as I scoffed, tucked, gobbled, polished into a second helping of her delicious soup. My mother would treat our bruises with ground moringa, pounded moringa leaves, mixed with salt. So, Fulern says tucked into. Vitali goes for tuck, so does Count, so does Leffy. Okay, Suman says tucked, Renyard tucked into. Good evening, Pepax. Great to have you. Pepax is user. Steal from the tuck shop, tucked into. Are basically, yeah, basically would work. Scoff at, to mock, tucked into. So notice all of these other words, scoffed, gobbled and polished, all work. They're all words for to eat. So tucked into for Roland, for Patricia, for Valentine, for Irfan. Or scoffed without preposition. As I scoffed a second helping. So scoffed, no into. Tucked into for Ronan. And tucked into for Razgar. Gobbled. To gobble is to eat fastly. Eat fast. Tuck, the preposition cancelled the others. That's the point, Oksana. I gobble, to eat rapidly. If you've ever seen Cookie Monster, he gobbles his cookies. Yeah? Okay, so dip your breed, Dewey. Okay, so to gobble, to eat rapidly, to polish. What's the preposition with polish? What's the preposition with polish to make a verb meaning scoffed? scoop soup, tucked into the soup, gobbled the soup, no preposition. What's the preposition with polished? Here, to polish, Okay, so I scoffed a second helping, I tucked into a second helping, I gobbled a second helping, I polished a second helping, and it's not into. Here. Off from Vitali, absolutely. To polish off. Yeah, polish off. The right answer here, so to polish off. Tuck into, scoff, and gobble. And I need a C here for tuck. Okay, these are all fairly informal ways of saying to polish off means to eat all of. I polished off all the chocolate. Yeah, I polished it off in a very fast way. Tucked into, enough to be familiar with it. Yes, to polish off. Well done, Laurie. Yeah, okay, so a variety of words there meaning to eat rapidly. Let me put the next one up then. Okay, so to tuck into, to polish off, to scoff something, to stuff your face, very definitely, and to gobble. All of these are pretty informal words. Yeah, I think I'd probably give them all 3.5s or 4 informality. So polished off, I mean. So it's so pure that a handful of these tiny leaves can cancel the effect of black magic. That's right. We still also bash, smash, slash, mash the leaves to put on cuts. Rasta interrupted. I was giddy because I ate something rotten. I felt giddy because I ate something rotten. I think felt giddy sounds better, but I think giddy may work. I would prefer dizzy, perhaps. Okay, so we've got some answers now. This is interesting. So it's so pure that just a handful of these tiny leaves can cancel the effect of black magic. That's right. We still also bash, smash, slash, mash the leaves to put on cuts. So we got smash for count, and then mash for Vitali, for Julia, for TW, for Valentine, for Irfan, for Manji, for Patricia. Suman goes for smash, Rizgar goes for mash and smash. To smash is to break something. You smash a glass. That's to smash. Something solid. Yeah, something solid that breaks into tiny bits. That is to smash. Yeah, but here we're making a paste. So, for example, pureed potato. This is potato. There's even actually a brand of instant mashed potato called Smash, but it's not the right answer. Okay, so Roland for mash the leaves. For learn, mash. You can. I was feeling dizzy. I was dizzy. Yes, love. And mash for Ronan, mashed potatoes. That's it for learn. Mash, absolutely. To mash is to make something into a puree so that you can learn it. To smash means to break. Also, smash has an idea of violence. He smashed the glass on the floor. To slash means to mash the leaves, very definitely. What's to slash? So to slash, I'm going to let you do that. To bash means to beat up, to hit. I bashed on the door. Yeah? And to bash for our pound might work, but bash has the idea of aggression as well. Yeah? To mash, to make into a puree. Yeah? Mashed leaves, mashed potatoes. Okay, so very definitely. What about this word slash, which Samson's just voted for? Mash. Very definitely. What is to slash? To mash, to reduce food to a soft mash. Yeah. All these verbs are onomatopoeic. Bash, smash, slash, mash. Very definitely. Put some butter when you mash the potatoes. Absolutely. Slash, isn't it some food like frozen syrup? No. Slash is definitely not. You love mashed potato puree. He smashed her back doors in to break. Yeah, mashed potatoes. But what about this slash? And why do I keep holding my hand like this? Okay, to slash. Slash. Also as a verb. No. No, definitely not. Emeen for mash. So, as I still haven't had an answer for slash, to slash means to cut with a knife. Yeah? To mush or to mash. Both of those work. Slash with a blade. Thank you, Patricia. He slashed the curtains. You slash your veins. God forbid. Yeah? That's slushy. That's it, Pepax. Lol. So to slash is to cut. The big victim had a big slash on his neck. So what is the other meaning of slash, Leffy? And this one you should know. This is very, very British slang. Okay, so to slash into two pieces, absolutely. So we also have in British English to go for a slash, to urinate. Slasher. A slasher, somebody who cuts. Yeah, okay, yes, forward slash and back slash. Well done for learn, I love it. But notice to go for a slash, to urinate as well, but very informal. Cut, slash, absolutely, Leffy. Yeah, to piss, that's it, Leffy, thank you. Somebody's cheek, woof, somebody's face. To bludgeon is to bash. A Jimmy Riddle, I love it. That's Cockney rhyming slang, rhymes with piddle. That's great, Leffy. So, here we go to the next one. Yeah, okay. As a hired driver, he often visits other Indonesian islands. The only people I know who don't eat moringa are the West Javanese, he recalled. They believe so strongly in the magical cleaning, cleansing, clearing, washing power of moringa that they use it to wash dead bodies before burial. They think that it's very strange that we Balinese eat it. Yeah. Okay, so we're getting answers. So we've got cleansing for learn, for Count Beauty, for Raphael, for Oksana, and for Vitali. And cleansing for Irfan as well. And cleansing for Leffy. Magical cleansing for Suman, and Pepax goes for cleansing, and Anna goes for cleansing, and so does Laurie. This looks like it's going to be a landslide. Cleansing for Patricia as well. Cleansing for Rizgar and for Manji. Okay, I thought this one was, you were going to have difficulty with this one. Okay, let's see, cleansing. Good evening, Sherwin. Great to have you. To cleanse means to purify. Yeah? Let's see. To cleanse can mean to clean. But clean is more physical. I cleaned my room. I cleaned the house. Whereas cleansing has an idea of detoxifying, purifying, making cleaner. So cleansing for Roland, for Maha, for Renyard, washing them. So in the magical washing power. I think you see washing here is much more physical, is to wash with water, is to clean with water. Yeah? Whereas to cleanse has a much more metaphorical meaning. The policy of ethnic cleansing must be stopped. Ethnic purification. Absolute landslide for cleansing, and it's the right idea. Yeah, so to cleanse your soul. Yes, admit your sins and cleanse your soul. Ethnic cleansing, absolutely, Patricia, as well. Cleansing or rejuvenation. Okay, rejuvenation might work. To clear the table, to wash the clothes, to clean the house, but cleansing. This has a much more metaphorical sense, although it does mean to clean as well. Okay, next one's pretty easy as well. Well, there are two of them, but they're both easy. Okay, so well done all of you. I think you're doing brilliantly again today. And let's see, we get the next one up any second now. Yeah, a cleanser. Expunge. I love that word, Vitali. To expunge your record. Expiation will cleanse your soul. I love it. Yeah, so, both Dewey and Rasta also agreed that witches and sorcerers, aspects, views, scenes, visages of Balinese belief that, even today, remain very real, can never eat moringa. Anyone who's involved in black magic must avoid the tree at all prices, costs, charges, amounts, Dewey said. It's so pure that just a handful of these tiny leaves can cancel the effect of black magic. So, we've got views for count, visages for love, cleanse of sin. That's very good, Patricia. Visages for Suman, love goes for visages, for learn goes for aspects, Vitali for aspects, to expunge, to obliterate. Raphael goes for costs. Yep, okay. And visages for exoneration. Interesting one. Okay, ethnic cleansing, political terminology that's used for racist minds who want to clean up from the races other than their own. At all costs, says Falern. Collocation. Vitali says costs. Manji says aspects and costs. Valentine says aspect and costs. Raphael says views. TW aspects and costs. Rizgar visage. Patricia for costs, Irfan for costs, Oksana aspects and costs, Laurie for costs, Ronan says visage and at all cost. So it looks like you're pretty happy with the second one. Yeah. So says visages is right on all grounds. Costs, says Rizgar. View, says Irfan. At all costs, regardless of the effort needed. So, very definitely, Patricia goes visages. And Suman goes for visages as well. So, this is interesting. Scenes. Well, a scene of belief. A scene is something you see. It can't be. Views of Balinese belief. Well, a view is a belief, is the way things sound. Visages, what a posh word. So my question here is, can we use this visage metaphorically? Malak says at all costs. Your visage is your face. Sherwin goes for aspects. The original article was with aspects. And these are aspects. I think a visage, it talks about somebody's face. Yeah? I'm not sure I would use visage metaphorically. Yeah? His visage looked very sad when he heard the bad news. Yeah? His visage is a face. Yeah, to make a scene, absolutely. But at all costs, whatever happens. Views for Samson. Okay, so these are aspects of Balinese belief. A facade is the front of a building, but you can use it metaphorically. You say visage. I say visage. Very definitely. Yeah, very definitely. Okay. Facade. Envisage is to make something formed in a way to understand. Yes, to envisage. But to a person's visage. A person's visage, you could say visage as well. But notice the people aren't the aspects. These are aspects of beliefs. Notice, Oksana, yeah? Witches and sorcerers, aspects of Balinese belief that even today remain very real. I understand what you're saying, Oksana. Yeah? Notice they put these hyphens or these dashes. Because what it is both Dewey and Rasta also agreed that witches and sorcerers can never eat moringa. And these are aspects of Balinese belief that remain very real today. So, and let's see. Facade. Political aspects. Okay. Aspects of belief is spot on. I'm happy with aspects as well. Okay, you pronounce hubris weirdly as well. There are all sorts of words I pronounce weirdly. Yeah? Visage is not the same as facade. I guess the facade of a building, where it is the front face of a building, the visage or the visage is the face. Okay. Okay, so, but let's see. Both, Leffy, look at it. Visage and hubris are both really posh words, therefore posh pronunciation. Okay, so, while inhabitant, native, domestic, dweller to North India, 13 species of moringa are found throughout the world, from Bangladesh to Burkina Faso to Brazil, where they used as traditional cures for everything from conjunctivitis to gonorrhea to malaria. So Vitali goes for native, so does Count, so does Falern, so does Suman. Yeah, yes, Oksana, I like that. I don't think the punctuation is particularly good. Okay, yes. Narayan is an inhabitant of Kerala. Yeah, a native. Facade, veneer. Native for Julia, native for Sherwin, native for Oksana, native for Raphael, native for Laurie, native for Roland, native for Irfan and Manji, and for Om as well. Indigenous too, yes, indigenous works very nicely. Native. Native to equals indigenous. Yeah. Inhabitant, this is a person most normally. Domestic. Domestic. Domestic is something within the house. A basement dweller, to dwell, to live. Yeah, to dwell, dwelt. Moringa's a medicinal herb. So Patricia goes for native as well. An inhabitant's a person. I don't know Hindi at all. So, native, definitely the right answer. N-A-T-I-V-E. Okay, so a native species. Here, that's because I put a space. An inhabitant of northern India. Well, inhabitant of northern India. You definitely have to have of. A domestic animal. Nativity talks about Christmas. Native talks about something that comes from that place. A domestic animal. Domestic terrorism. Okay. A native of the country. Could be as well. So, let me see. I need to put the next one up. Very definitely. So, so Sherwin, I know you're into health foods, so maybe this would be a good one for you to try. Very high in iron. A native of the country. Yes. Okay. So the tree is known in English as drumstick tree due to the shape of the seed, shells, pods, rind, chaff, or horseradish tree, as its roots taste similar to horseradish. But the fact that it's also commonly referred to as mother's best friend and the never die tree would seem to imply, incriminate, infer, display that its benefits were not entirely unknown to the British. We got 2 dashes on either side. Yeah, I'd prefer. Let's see. I'd prefer it with commas. Yeah, you could use the dashes either side. Okay, so okay. Good evening, VG. Great to see you. So pods for Vitali. Pods and imply for Leffy, chaff for Irfan, chaff and imply for Count Beauty, Hamarita, Hamartia, I'd guess, seed pods for TW, Valentine for imply, Suman for pods, Ronan for chaff and imply, Patricia for imply, Raphael for infer, Suman for pods and imply, Irfan for imply, Roland says seed shells, Manji says chaff and imply, pods for and imply for Julia Richmond, Rizgar says pods for learn, pods and imply for Roland. I've lived in London, I've lived in Oxford, I've lived in Cambridge, I've lived in many different places. Seed shells and imply for Renyard. Yeah, he's late, isn't he, Leffy? Pods for Patricia, Laurie says imply, Vitali goes for imply. Okay, well, it doesn't matter, you can watch it again later, VG. So the tree is known in English as drumstick tree due to the shape of the seed, shells, pods, rind, chaff. Oksana says pods and imply. What's the difference between infer and imply and allude? Okay, so let's see. The pod is the bit that goes round the outside of a seed. The chaff is the outside of the seed once it's been dried and broken off. When you separate the wheat from the chaff is the dry outside husk, that goes into the air. So it's not chaff. When the pod, like 2 peas in a pod, a nut goes into a shell, and the rind is the outside of something, like the rind of an orange or pork rinds. Okay, so and pod for it and imply from Emin as well. Pods and imply. Chaff reminds me of what the military use. Yes, Sherwin, that's very good. The rind is the skin of something, most normally a piece of fruit, the rind of an orange, the rind of a lemon, the pork rinds, the skin of a pig. There's no difference between mush and mash. Yeah, to mush or to mash. I think maybe mush is more informal. Firstly, you need to be very rich to do it, or you need to be English. Is it related to chaffinch? I honestly don't know, Leffy. It's a good one. Googling drumstick tree helped a lot. Okay, so the answer is a pod. Pod. The pods. The outside container of something. Okay, and to infer, to draw a conclusion. A person infers something. The subject of to infer is that somebody makes an inference, somebody thinks about it and draws a logical conclusion. Yeah? Yes, they're doing fine, Leffy. So you infer a conclusion. To imply, evidence implies that something is true, and then you can infer what it means. To allude to means to make reference to. So he's alluding to what happened last week. Dehusked and hulled is used for wheat. Yes, that would work. and you dehusk it and you get the chaff. The British. I wouldn't use the Britishers. The poor, no pause. The rich, no S. One whole group. Okay, so here very definitely the answer is imply. Yeah, okay, this is a fact that gives evidence towards it implies. To incriminate is evidence that makes somebody look guilty of something. Yes, exactly, Fallon, that's right. To insinuate, yeah. To insinuate, I get that displays is something that's much more open, and this is just evidence that might lead us to a conclusion. So definitely imply. And ladies and gentlemen, it's time for us to stop. I infer from what you imply that we're done and dusted. Exactly. This was the last one. So thank you all for coming. You've been a brilliant group. Thank you, Ronan, for your donation. Thank you, all of you, for your presence. We've had lots of people today. I think we've got 53 people watching at the moment. It's great to have you all. So thank you for coming, Count Beauty. Thank you, Ronan. Thank you, Aaron, thank you, Leffy, thank you, VG, thank you, Renyard, thank you, Patricia, thank you, Roland, thank you, Ronan, thank you, thank you, VG, thank you, Rizgar, it's wonderful to have you all here, thank you, Manisco, thank you, TW, thank you, Julia Richmond, thank you, Oksana, Irfan, Manji, great to have you, thank you, Suman, Raphael, thank you, thank you, Aram. Thank you. There was an Anna as well. So brilliant. So thank you all for coming. It's been brilliant. I will have another live stream on Tuesday morning at 10. I think it's 10:30 UK time. It'll only be a half-hour one for all of you to know. So it's great to have you. I will leave the chat on so that you can talk. Thank you all for coming.